This is a video about two buildings designed by Francis Kimball in Brooklyn. Francis was from Maine. He's one of the older members of the Brooklyn School. He was born in Kennebunk, Maine. Many people have heard of the Bush family having their summer home in Kennebunkport, which is right next door. It's like Palm Beaches to West Palm Beach. And Kennebunk, Maine is like halfway between Portsmouth, New Hampshire and Portland, Maine, right on the Atlantic Ocean in the southeastern coast of Maine. And he came to New York and got established and designed. He's mostly known for designing early high-rises in lower Manhattan, but he also designed several theaters in Manhattan. Most of his work was in Manhattan, and as well as elsewhere, but he designed two significant buildings in Brooklyn. And I've outlined his picture here in gold and orange because it plays into the colors that I think he was fond of using. The main building that we'll be looking at is the Montauk Club in Park Slope, which really features that color combination. And then I showed two other buildings that he designed, one in Philadelphia, the Reading Terminal. He uses the same sort of color scheme. And then a church he designed in Manhattan on West 57th Street. And it has sort of the same colors, kind of a darker orange color. And then I also include a picture of Alana, which is a nationally known historic house overlooking the Hudson River upstate from New York City. It's in Hudson, New York, and it was designed by one of the two designers of Prospect Park, which the Montauk Club looks out over, and the one architect is Calvert Vaux, and he worked with the owner, Frederick Church, who was a painter. So the combination of those two working together really produced a showstopper of a mansion. And the colors are sort of the same as the Montauk Club. It's that rich orange and ochre and gold. And when it's in the sun, it really pops as a visual explosion. So Francis Kimball, he only designed two buildings in Brooklyn. I'm still including him in the Brooklyn School just because the Montauk Club was so significant, and it still stands, and it's one of the architectural icons of Brooklyn. But first I'm going to show you a church that Francis Kimball designed for Charles Pratt, who was the richest man in Brooklyn and founded Pratt Institute, and his children had houses on Clinton Avenue, and he wanted this church built that he could feel proud to go to. So it's a significant church, big church, but it's Gothic style. It doesn't have the same colors that you'll see when we then go to look at the Montauk Club. So Francis Kimball, Brooklyn School. I just wanted to add that after I produced the first three slides of the introduction to this video, I discovered in a book I have called Lost Brooklyn this picture or artist depiction of the Montauk Club on Plaza Street right by Prospect Park. And we're looking northwest from, I would say, about Union Street. And the first cross street you'll see is Berkeley Place. And then the Montauk Club abuts Lincoln Place, as well as Plaza Street, as well as 8th Avenue on the other side. And this is a historic depiction, and it shows that there used to be mansions along Plaza Street. And if you go along Plaza Street and along Prospect Park West, which Plaza Street runs into, there used to be mansions up and down the whole way, but most of those mansions have been replaced by apartment buildings. So the ones you see here are no longer standing, but it just shows you the historical context in which the Montauk Club was built and in which it was designed by Francis Kimball. And then I also wanted to add that I discovered two more buildings that were designed by Francis Kimball in Brooklyn, and they're not insignificant, and I have to include them, and I shot video clips to go with this presentation. They were the last two buildings that were built that he designed, and they're related to each other. They both have to do with Loser's department store in downtown Brooklyn, which was a department store for many years up until 1952, right on Fulton Street. And Francis Kimball was commissioned to design an extension to the original main store, and you see it in the picture in the upper right hand corner. It's a good sized addition, and it still stands, so it's impressive to look at, and I'm glad it still exists in downtown Brooklyn. And that was built in 1899 to 1900. And then he also, for the Losers, he designed a warehouse for the store, which is located in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Clinton Hill, right on the borderline of the two. And it also shows some of the same colors that he used on the Montauk Club. And it's really interesting. You'll want to watch this video to the end, because I think it's really eye-catching, and it's great to see what is being done with that building. So now we'll get to the video clips. Francis Kimball designed this church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, 1886 to 1887. We're looking at the St. James Place eastern side of the church. We're at St. James and Lafayette in Clinton Hill. And it's kitty corner across the street from this big complex here of two different red brick buildings. I don't have it on my list, but I'll have to find out more about this complex. So let's look back at this church. It was commissioned by Charles Pratt, the richest man in Brooklyn, worth about what would today be like 15 to 20 billion dollars. And he wanted a church that he'd be proud to go to, so it is a beautiful church. Emmanuel Baptist, 1886-87, French Gothic style, here at Lafayette and St. James in Clinton Hill. Francis Kimball. This is the Montauk Club on 8th Avenue in Park Slope. And it was designed by Francis Kimball, who was originally from Maine. And he primarily designed early skyscrapers in Manhattan. But he got the assignment to design this in what they call Venetian Gothic. And it's just loaded with details at each floor. 8th Avenue is kind of a busy street. I'll walk across it here in a moment, take a closer look. Once went to a wedding reception here. It's beautiful on the inside. I read that it's the last of like hundreds of clubs that were built in Manhattan. We'll take a look at some other ones in the course of looking at all the great architecture in Brooklyn. And this signifies that it's part of the Park Slope Historic District. And I guess they were having dwindling membership, and they sold off the top floors and the bottom for condos. So the club now is just the first and second floors, but that's still significant. Here's a plaque about the Montauk Club itself.
Has a nice fence, wrought iron fence around it. And it's late December. It's right before Christmas, so the low light in the sky kind of plays off well off the coloring of the building. And we'll walk up here to I think it's Plaza Street. It goes around Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, which is right at the northwestern corner of Prospect Park. And I also read that it was designed to look like one of the palazzos on the Grand Canal in Venice. So they sure did a good job of replicating one of those. And this was built over a 3-year period, 1889 to 1891. And numerous presidents, either before they were president or while they were president, have been here, including Grover Cleveland and William McKinley, John F. Kennedy. His brother Bobby has been here for different events. So it's really fantastic. Take a little further walk down here towards Flatbush Avenue. And then we'll take a look back. Well, this side is more utilitarian. I guess that's an elevator that's been added on. Anyway, Montauk Club, Park Slope, Brooklyn. One other thing of note about the Montauk Club is this is the main entrance on 8th Avenue, and this was the ladies' entrance. Here's just another shot of the Montauk Club so you can see it in its entirety, looking across 8th Avenue at Lincoln Place at Park Slope. Just take a quick look at a brand new residential building. I don't think anybody's moved in yet. Maybe a few people have. Designed by Gene Gang from Chicago. Right down the street from the Offerman building by P.J. Lauritzen on Fulton Street. So we're headed for what's still left of Loser's department store, designed by Francis Kimball here in downtown Brooklyn. So we'll look for that next. Well, we can see the top of this building over the scaffolding by Gene Gang's building on Hoyt Street. This is the former Loser's department store, designed by Francis Kimball. Francis Kimball designed this extension to Loser's department store that was on Fulton Street, and the extension looks more significant than what exists now. It would be the main store in the front. It's a nice old Victorian on the corner of Elm Place and Fulton. So this was built in 1899 and 1900 in a Romanesque revival, Renaissance revival style, and they've added kind of a loading dock arrangement on the ground floor as we walk under more scaffolding. Here we get a good look at the whole Elm Place facade. Its address is 25 Elm Place between Fulton Street and Livingston Street in downtown Brooklyn. It's across the street from Gene Gang's new apartment building that's nearing completion. So we'll walk across Livingston and get a better look back. So Loser's, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, maybe it's Loser's department store, was in business from the 1800s up till 1952. Area of Brooklyn has really been seeing a lot of change, but it's nice that some of the older buildings are still here. So some great arches here along Livingston. And when this was built, Francis Kimball also designed a warehouse for Loser's store in the Clinton Hill / Bed-Stuy neighborhoods at the same time. Which I will show you next. 1899 and 1900, Francis Kimball, downtown Brooklyn, Loser's department store. You see some things by walking that you don't see by riding a bike, but this is a fantastic looking building on Downing Street. And we'll see what the cross street is up here. It's a faded Salvation Army. Quincy Street. Downing and Quincy. I'd like to know what this was originally and who designed it and what year. And I'll look it up. But wow, beautiful brickwork. And it sounds like it's being renovated. This is a new apartment building here at this corner. Oh, it's just beautiful. Quincy Street and Downing Street in Bed-Stuy, or maybe this is Clinton Hill. One or the other. And it looks like the parapet wall up top is getting some work too, hopefully in the same banded color scheme. Beautiful. Here's the sign that says what's happening. And it'll be almost 2 years until it's finished, but it's being converted to residential.